you're going to have this sense of urgency because you're excited and this is great, but you'll feel so much better if you just actually sit down and physically write down a plan.
Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the X agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge,
and settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips.
Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 148, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to launch your new brand. So this is something that we haven't talked about a lot in the past, and I'm super excited to come on today and just talk about how to strategically and purposefully launch your new brand. So whenever we get a new brand, whether it's a rebrand or a brand from fresh, it's so exciting to launch that out into the world. But I think a lot of people fail to actually have a launch plan. And that might sound kind of crazy for a new brand, but especially if you're rebranding, let's say you already have a brand out in the world and you're like, well, it's just a rebrand. Things are just updating. Why do I have to have a launch plan? And the reason that we have to have a launch plan is because when you think of your brand has so many different elements to it, right? So we've got our logo, we've got our colors, our typography. Sometimes if it's brand strategy, we've got our copy and how we're supposed to be talking to our audience and showing up. We've got patterns, icons, all of these different things. And we need to think through, A, how we're going to apply them to our marketing channels, and B, sit down and think through how many marketing channels we have and how long it's going to take to actually apply all of these new assets to those channels. So that sounds overwhelming because it is. It's a lot of things to do with your new brand and get it out in the world. And you can't just click a button and everything's updated on all of your marketing platforms. I wish that was something. And if there is an AI tool out there that does that, please let me know because I don't know about it yet. But it's really good to sit down and strategically plan out how you want to launch your new brand. So one of the first things that I'm going to talk about is taking your time. A lot of us get our new brand. Abby and I, when we finished our brand last year around this time, we were so excited to get it out into the world. But we had to take our time because we have a web page that has, I don't even know how many pages, 20 plus pages. And we have social and we have a podcast and we have all of these other channels, our newsletter that we have to tap into and make sure that we apply our new brand to. So that's going to take a while, and that's okay. It's okay to take that time to strategically plan out where and when you're going to be updating your brand. So asking yourself questions like, where do I begin and how long is it going to take? You're going to have this sense of urgency because you're excited and this is great, but you'll feel so much better if you just actually sit down and physically write down a plan. Where are you starting first? When are you going to do that? And how long do you think it's going to take? And it's okay to also let your audience know that you're launching this brand and something might be down for a while, like your website might be down for a while, or you're taking a break from socials because you're getting your new brand ready to launch. So you can give these little teasers kind of to launching your new brand so you don't have to feel like one day you have to sit down and get everything done because you want to launch everything at the same time, right? That's super overwhelming. So just let your audience know like, hey, website down, can't wait for you to see the new brand, it's coming soon. Reach me here. So make sure that they can still reach you. They still have a way to connect with you. So you're not losing people, but you're also letting people know like, hey, I'm over here doing some back end stuff because we're reworking our brand and we're so excited for you to see it because it's going to work so much better for you as well. So just creating that hype, which is something I'm going to talk about later. And taking your time and not feeling rushed to get everything out there. Also, this is such a fun time for your brand and for you as a business. So go slow and have fun with it. So creating that mini timeline, writing things down, updating the things that might be easiest. So like easiest to hardest. So you can kind of get a momentum going. If you start with something really heavy and hard at first, you might be like, shoot, this is a lot. I'm getting frustrated. This is really hard. And I'm just going to do my website and everything else can come later. Or you might just never get your brand out there because you feel so overwhelmed with a big thing. So start with the little things, start checking those off and getting those things done. And I'm sure you will start to feel that excitement, that momentum, and you'll be so excited to start updating everything. And then once you have all of that stuff updated, you're ready to show the world your brand new, beautiful brand. And again, they already know that it's coming, right? Because we told you to tell them, create that hype, let them know that this is coming, and they will be excited right there with you. They'll be cheering you on in the background, they'll be cheering you on in the foreground. Like you're going to hear it. They're so excited for you, and your audience is connecting with you and just as excited about this brand launch for you that you are. So, again, just letting them know, taking your time, and having fun with it because brand launches and rebrands are so fun in your business. When we work with brand clients, they have that excitement and energy when we're working with them with their new graphics and strategy. And you can just tell that they're so excited to get it out there. And that's great. But we want to make sure that they do it strategically and again, take their time. So I briefly did touch on this a little bit, but make sure to update everything. So that's where that list that I was talking about comes into play really, really well because you might forget some of the places that you are. Abby and I, Duo Collective is in a ton of places, and sometimes we don't show up at all these places, right? We have a ton of different marketing channels, but we don't use all of them 100% because you're stretched thin, right? You know this. I'm talking to small business owners for the most part, and all of us can't wear all the hats and do all of the things unless we have a large team, which is amazing. So then delegate to your team, obviously. But making sure to make that list so you don't miss some of the places you're at. Like Abby and I, we have Pinterest, we have a YouTube channel, but those aren't places that we're like showing up all of the time right now. So we could easily forget about those because they're not on our radar all the time. They're not something that we're constantly pushing like we are Instagram or our website or our newsletter or our podcast. Those are our number one marketing channels. So obviously those come to mind right away, but those other ones don't. So make sure to make a checklist of all of the things that need to be updated and use that as your guide to making sure that you get everything rebranded too. So when we're doing a rebrand, we do collateral for clients, for existing brand clients, but you have to think through just like getting your graphics right. So if you work with a brand designer such as us, you're going to get all of these graphics and these assets given to you at the end of the project. Then you are responsible or in charge of taking those assets and updating everything unless you hire somebody to do that brand collateral for you. So just thinking through things like that too, like you're going to need a new podcast cover art or YouTube cover art or social templates, a favicon for your website, just like all of these little things that you might not think about where your new brand needs to be refreshed and evolve, right? So making a checklist of all of those things that you need to update. And if you don't have those things created, either hiring a brand designer to create those for you or going to Canva. Like these are places where Canva is really great because you can take those new branded assets and apply them to these templates and then save them for yourself and re-upload them for your new brand launch. So, things like thinking about where your brand shows up, I kind of talked about this, but anywhere from website, social graphics, podcast cover art, email signature, newsletter template, business cards, proposals, freebies, resources. The list could literally go on and on and on. So this checklist could get pretty big. And again, don't let it overwhelm you because this is going back to that point number one, taking your time. It is okay to take your time, especially if some of these marketing channels are channels that you're not really pushing. Like let's say YouTube is the last marketing channel you ever update, or you're hardly ever on it, but you still have a channel. It's okay to update that one at the end because you're probably not bringing in a whole lot of people there, right? Because your audience knows that they're not finding you there right now. You're living elsewhere. So again, taking your time, letting your audience know that you're doing this rebrand and it's going to take you a while to get all of these things rebranded. And then again, just making sure to update everything slowly throughout this whole process. Another one that I've kind of mentioned too, but a lot of people I think fail to do because they want to keep their rebrand a little bit of a secret, right? Because I think they want it to be this like really splashy, like, hey, look at me, we're new. Don't you love everything? Which is great, but it's okay to create that hype before you even launch your new brand to the world, which it's actually kind of exciting, right? Because you're bringing your audience along with you. So, really warming your audience up with something new and fun by sharing them sneaks or giving them hints. You could gamify it and ask them questions on like what they think your new color palette's going to be, or what they think the new kind of vibe of your brand is going to be, or what do you think I'm changing? So, really just being playful with it and getting your audience excited about it and wanting to come back for more. So, they're coming to you for a purpose, right? Like they either buy from you, they're inspired by you, you educate them. So they're going to keep coming back. So it's not like you're going to lose them. If you announce something like this, you're probably actually going to get them more excited because they're already in your ecosystem and they can't wait to see you come out with this new brand and this new refresh. And they're so excited to see what it is. So telling your audience about it beforehand is totally okay. It's going to create that excitement. And if you gamify it or make it really fun, I guarantee you they're going to be just as excited for that brand launch as you are. So tell friends, tell family before you launch, ask them to share it. When we launched Duo, like I was so excited to relaunch our new brand, tell all my family and friends, say, hey, check it out. Like if you could go give us a little love or support us. And it was fantastic. People were so excited for us, even if they were friends and family that like don't really know what I do. Anytime you ask a designer what they do, they just kind of think you do all the things, or they just think you're, a general graphic designer, which is fine, but you show them what you do and the brand strategy behind it, and they get really excited as well. So tell everybody about it before you do it. Really create that hype, because you're going to just create even more excitement when your brand is actually launched. And the last thing here, just launching with purpose. So that's kind of the whole point of this whole episode, is to be purposeful about it. But you really need to be strategic about your launch plan, setting these things aside, being very purposeful about it, making those checklists, making sure that you're updating everything. Because launching only half of your brand, or launching without any of that structure, is going to make things look incomplete and inconsistent. And a big thing about brands is that consistency, right? We want that consistency. We want that clarity from marketing channel to marketing channel, because if you have someone new come into your ecosystem, if that consistency isn't there or that clarity isn't there, you're going to lose them right away. So if they land on your website and they go to your socials and then they go to your podcast and then they see your newsletter and something big is missing, it's not clicking, or you have your old brand in your newsletter still, but everything else is updated, just because let's say you didn't want to update your newsletter, or you forgot, or whatever it might be, and you didn't communicate that, like we said earlier, like making sure to communicate this brand launch. If you fail to communicate that, then there's going to be a really big mishap. There's going to be a really big confusion with that new audience member that came in, and they might leave because they're very confused. They don't understand why things are looking different, why you're maybe speaking differently, and they weren't communicated to somewhere along the process that this was happening. So you want to make sure to, again, be strategic about it and purposeful, and making sure that you're talking to your audience about it happening. We preach consistency all the time. It is so important. We've landed on sites before, everybody's been there, where you've engaged with a brand somewhere and you go somewhere else for that brand and something's disconnected, whether it's the visuals, whether it's the way that they're speaking to you. But when you have that disconnection, it's a really poor brand experience for somebody on the other end of it. And again, that's where they could just potentially drop off. And the last thing is, you're going to feel so much more confident and feel better about your launch if you're launching it with purpose, and if you're talking about it, and if you're being very open about it, because you are, again, creating that hype, which you get excited about and your audience is getting excited about. And then you feel really, really good if you have this plan and everything laid out in a timeline, on a calendar, week by week, just chip away at it. You are going to feel so much more confident about putting your brand out in that world, because you have that plan in place. It's not just, piddly diddly updating things here and there. You're actually updating things and building your new brand with purpose, and you have a solid strategy plan in place to get your brand out there. So really, the whole purpose of this episode is, get excited about that rebrand or that brand launch, because you worked damn hard for that, and it's going to look amazing and you're so excited about it, but making sure to do it purposefully and not just taking those assets and, only updating your site or only using your new brand logo in social or something like that. You want to get the whole brand out there across all of your marketing channels so that when people land in your ecosystem, you have that consistency, you have that clarity, and you have that confidence. So 3 C's there: consistency, clarity, confidence, and you are going to have a kick-ass brand launch. I can guarantee it. So I'm very curious if you've worked with us in the past on brand projects, if you've ever sat down and created a strategic brand launch, or if you're rebranding or starting a new brand right now, have you thought about how you're going to launch that brand? So if anybody out there is currently in this position, like ready to launch a new brand, and this episode spoke to you, we definitely want to hear from you. But we really just hope that this brought some pretty easy 1, 2, 3 steps on how to get your brand out there and how to do it with purpose, but also keep that excitement and that energy with that launch. So I appreciate you listening in today, and we will see you next week on the Duo On Air podcast. If you liked this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please leave us a review and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.